and it also leads to negative behaviors and outcomes. So people that struggle with haughty eyes or pride and arrogance make bad impulsive decisions. They make bad impulsive decisions because they are being led by Satan. 100% led by Satan. The voices that you may hear, your friends that you may hear, and your friends can tell you things, right? And they could be telling you the truth, but because you're being led by Satan, as you hear it, gets in your brain interprets it differently. Crazy how that happens, but it does happen. 100% it does happen. And so what happens is these people are led by Satan, led to destruction. They will destroy their whole life. You will have somebody who's a perfect, pure Christian destroy their whole life because of pride, being led by Satan. And when it talks about haughty eyes and pride and arrogance, that's a heart matter. That's from in here. One thing my mom always told me, she said, what you are inside will eventually show outside. And what I realize is dealing with people, and even it's crazy coming from a law enforcement background, right? I've seen some people that are in their 50s and 60s that look like they're in their 80s, right? Pride, right? How they lived their life, the negative things that they did, all catches up to you, right? You will look run down and torn down and ragged when you get older if you didn't do the right things. I've met some great people that were older. Um, One of them is my is grandpa from the other side of my family. He was the type of guy that just like took care of people, loved people. Just you know what, he worked. He was in his 80s, still working, still able to work on cars, and he looked good. Like he looked like he lived that type of life, right? And what I realized is that he lived a life that manifests itself on him later on to where he was doing the right things. You will look like what you've done. It will all catch up to you. So things that people struggling with pride, what do they do? What are some things that they do? They lie, slander. You're going to hear slander come up again. That's huge. You are not to sow seeds of discord in the church amongst brethren, amongst the church community. So if you're in a relationship with somebody and something happens and you go slander their name, you're both Christians, you're going to church slandering their name. What happens is you've given a gateway for Satan to come in. And so now Satan comes in. And this is why I tell people, like, when you have a spouse, two things you don't want to do. I'm going to give you a little relationship advice real quick, 2 minutes. Two things you don't want to do when you have a spouse. Number one is speak negatively about your spouse to your friends, right? Because the energy that you put out comes back in return. And so what you effectively do, because our job, when you're in a marriage, your job is to protect the relationship. And sometimes you got to protect your relationship from your family, your friends, your cousins, your co-workers, your boss. Because what happens is the devil will try to find any kind of way in that he possibly can get. And he'll get in there and he'll be inside your relationship. Guess what? And your relationship will be ruined. Be ruined. So that's number one. You do not speak negatively about your spouse around other people. Because you don't know what their motives are either, right? The second thing is huge, huge, is the company that you keep. If you're around bad company, it will corrupt your values and morals. If you corrupt your values and morals, it can corrupt your marriage. So you have to be careful that those that you are around, right, are Christ centered like you are. If you're around people and you're spending time and you're taking advice from people that aren't giving you godly advice, your flesh, which is the manifestation of you, this is who we are flesh, will normally take the advice of the person that's not giving godly advice than it would from the person that is. And so now you're calling yourself a Christian, saying you're godly, but you're taking advice, life, love, relationships from a person that is not godly. And you can tell by a person's fruit, their actions, how they operate, right? If you got friends that lie all the time, you're going to probably end up becoming a liar. If you're around people that cheat all the time, you're going to end up becoming a cheater, right? Because you are the sum of the company that you're around. So what you allow in your life will affect your life. violence, and forgetting God. It literally says you forget God. When you're dealing with pride, you literally forget him. Like you'll get to a point where you just think you don't need God. Like God just be on the back burner. I got all this other stuff going on. This is more important. And you see this in Christianity a lot because people go to church every Sunday. But like what I've seen in my experience is people go to church every Sunday, but in the morning, like when they're getting ready for church, there's no Bible open. There's no Bible open, right? They're not reading the Word. So for most people, getting ready for church means putting on clothes, putting on makeup, freshening up, taking a shower. That's what getting ready for the assembly of God is, right? But what God actually wanted you to do to get ready to prepare for Him is to open up the Word. So I would like to have to challenge you guys to, as opposed to worrying about your outward look so much, open up the Word and work on yourself inwardly, preparing yourself for the sermon, preparing yourself for going to church, preparing yourself for going to get some encouragement. Right? Open the Word of God as much as you possibly can, because there's people that only open a Bible up when they go to church and say they got a relationship with God. I'm like, no, you got a relationship with the church, with that building, with them people. You don't to have a relationship with God. It's personal. It'd be like if you had a wife and you only loved on her on Sundays for an hour and 30 minutes. That's it. I'm just gonna love on my wife on Sundays for an hour and 30 minutes. After that, I'm done. I'm close that book up right here. Done with it. Let me go on about my life. Next Sunday comes around. Gonna open a book for an hour and 30 minutes, right? How long do you think that relationship will last? Wives, you can comment. That's not going to last long. You're going to be like, man, I got to get rid of this dude. He only loves on me for an hour and a half out of a week that has 24 hours a day in 7 days. You only can spare an hour and a half. That's crazy. Put your time in, because what happens is as you start to drift away, pride starts to become more abundant in your heart. A lying tongue. A lying tongue. Verse 17. So it goes from pride to a lying tongue. There's a reason why they go in this order, right? Pride leads to other sins. This is another sin that pride leads to, a lying tongue. Somebody who lies. Somebody who's deceptive. Somebody who's deceitful, right? It says in the Bible, truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue lasts only a moment. So God requires honesty from his righteous people. A righteous person is honest, is an honest person. A righteous person is not a liar. You can't call yourself righteous. Self-righteous, crazy, I said that. You can't, this sounds like something a private person would be, self-righteous. You can't call yourself righteous and be a liar at the same time. God requires honesty from his followers. He requires honesty from us. So lying is not a part of the plan. It's not a part of the book. You can't do that. Proverbs 12:22. The Lord detests lying lips, but he delights in people who are trustworthy. The Lord detests. That word has come up again. The Lord detests. So that lying is detestable by God. Lying ruins your relationship with God. As we use that word detest again. Crazy. Crazy. So you dishonor God by lying, being dishonest. You're dishonoring God. That's a crazy concept. It's crazy. God despises liars. He does. It violates his holiness. Because here I am, supposed to be a person of righteousness, right? Righteousness comes from God, walking in darkness with a light. So people come to your light, right? You lie to these people, you lead them to sin. And that's even worse than you just sinning yourself. Leading somebody else to sin is a problem. And that's what lying does. God detests, despises liars. There is no form of lie that is righteous. You cannot justify or make lies righteous because they're not. Lying is never, ever righteous. Now, what happens is you get a reprobate mind, and people think that, okay, well, I could justify lying. And you can't. You absolutely can't. Lying is lying no matter what. So it talks about lying and deception. So then, what is lying? You guys may have. Well, what is it? What does it mean to lie? I think of lie with three caveats, three things that I think of when I think about lies. Number one is um, the omission of truth, right? So when you tell somebody partial truth because you're afraid of the outcome, so you're protecting your outcome because you don't want to look bad, you don't want to feel bad, you don't want to upset them, right? So you tell them a part of the truth. A partial truth is still a lie, right? A partial truth is still a lie.